I remind you that poverty and less than 12 years of education are, in every contemporary society that has been studied, the best predictor of depression and far better than any particular gene or childhood experience discovered thus far. In the February issue of the Archives, some investigators reported that on a large representative sample of Americans, the best predictors of a mental illness were violence and abuse, substance abuse in the family, when that patient was a child. Those two features are much more prevalent in families with less education and a lower income. The pattern psychiatrists call anxiety or depressive disorder rest on more than one profile of genes and life history. But our media continue to hype the genes. One advantage, of course, is that by blaming genes, you remove some of the blame for the stigma of the illness from the patient and their family. But the disadvantages are that they lead clinicians to prescribe drugs exclusively, and more important, they create an indifference to studying in detail the role of past experience. For reasons I don't understand, British psychiatrists remain far more interested in experiential conditions than Americans. Every symptom, physical or psychological, requires a vulnerability in the patient and a trigger. And they're both important. Here's the problem. The biologists study the vulnerabilities because they're easy to study, they're materialistic, and you can get research support. Psychologists and sociologists study the triggers. The triggers are usually not biological. The research methods are cruder, and they don't get support. So we're not studying half the problem, and that is a very serious sociological problem that we face. Both the vulnerabilities and the triggers can originate in genes, prenatal events, illnesses, or a variety of experiences that the person interprets, not the experience, in some idiosyncratic way. Now, a few words on temperament. A temperament is one form of vulnerability, but it only leads to a symptom if a trigger occurs later in life. That is, the temperament is only an initial predisposition for some emotions and actions. And each temperament can have different origins. Now, I believe, as I've written, that the most frequent origin is in the inherited neurobiology, all those chemicals you read about, norepinephrine, opioids, vasopressin, oxytocin, and so on. They all have receptors.